Yo, what's good with y'all boys, man? Today we got another banger video. We got just how bad are the
About 2 months
Charlotte
ago,
Hornets,
I posted
bro.
my searching
I'm not
for the
gonna
worst
lie,
American sports team
the
video.
worst
It was a
American
video that
sports
saw me
team.
trying to pick the worst team out of the 124 that make up the Big Four US sports leagues. The video was naturally very divisive, which was not surprising at all given the topic of the video, but overall, I was pretty happy with it. I narrowed it down to 4 really bad teams, and I picked one from the 4 that I thought was the worst. And you know what? I think I did a good job. There's no way that I left out a horrible team who clearly needed to be brought up, which by
Oh
not
my
talking about
God.
them would almost completely invalidate the video. The Charlotte Hornets are a bad basketball team, without a doubt. For a state that is known for good basketball, you would think that their professional team would be great, or at the very least, an average level franchise. But this just isn't true for the Hornets. The team has not only struggled to win championships, but they've struggled just to win games in general.
Bro, what are they?
Their history
why do
needs
they
to be
just let them
talked
do
about,
that?
and I deserve all the criticism for ignoring them. My own ranking system had them as the worst, so it made zero sense why I didn't include them. But it's time to correct my mistake. It's time to look at the history of the Charlotte Hornets and see just how bad they really are. Let's start in 1988. Like any other business, the NBA is looking to expand, and over the next 2 years, 4 new teams would be added to the league. All of these teams have reached different levels of success. The Miami Heat have won 3 championships, the Orlando Magic have made the finals twice, and even though the Minnesota Timberwolves have not made the finals, they've at least recently become a much better team. But what about the Hornets? Have they won anything at all? Well, the first few seasons for Charlotte were undeniably bad. The Hornets were
20 to
consistently
62,
among the worst in
19
the
to
NBA
63,
and only
bruh.
reached 30 wins once in their first 4 years. This is not uncommon. Expansion teams almost always struggle in their first few seasons, as their rosters are usually a mix of rookies and young players, as well as left.
Alright, so Houston Texans missed playoffs for the first 9 years. The Toronto Raptors didn't win more than 30 games for first 4 years. Didn't win more than 30 games for first 4
over
years.
players from other teams. It's very rare
Damn.
for an expansion team to become immediately good. Eventually, Charlotte would improve. In 1993, the team had their first winning season and playoff appearance, and they actually did a good job in their first appearance. Charlotte won their first round matchup against the Boston Celtics, and while they would lose their conference semifinal matchup against the top-seeded New York Knicks, this was something that the team could build off of. Even though the Hornets failed to make the playoffs in '94, the 1995 season saw the team finish with their best record yet. Their first round opponent would be the Chicago Bulls, who should have been an easier matchup for them thanks to MJ trying to make a career in baseball at this point. Unfortunately for Charlotte, Jordan was back on the Bulls now. Chicago would win the series, and Charlotte's best season yet was quickly over. Charlotte would fail to
Just
make the
like
playoffs
that,
again
bro.
in
Homie
1996.
snatched
It was
their
clear that they
dreams,
needed to
bro.
make a move if they ever wanted to contend for a championship. In the 1996 offseason, the Hornets would make a trade for Lakers center Vlade Divac, trading away the high school player that they had just selected in the draft. At the time, this deal made sense. If there was ever a time to start winning, it had to be now. Adding Divac would be a nice step towards making it to the finals. Across the next 6 seasons, Charlotte made the playoffs 5 times and finished with some of their best win-loss records ever. But they only managed to win a playoff series 3 times, and they never even made it past the second round. But it gets a lot worse. Do you want to know who the Hornets got rid of in order to make the trade for Vlade Divac? Kobe Bryant. The Hornets gave up a future MVP and Hall of Fame player just for them to fail to make it past the second round of the playoffs. Struggling to win in the playoffs is one thing. Trading away a player that would reach the level that Kobe did is another huge blow. But these are mistakes that teams can recover from. Unfortunately, the Hornets wouldn't even get the chance.
That's crazy.
In 2002, Hornets owner George Shinn would move the Hornets from Charlotte and relocate the team to New
Really?
Orleans. Shinn
Never
would
knew
point to
that.
low attendance being the reason for this decision, but this neglects how bad of an owner he was during this time. In their first 10 seasons, the Hornets often led the NBA in attendance, but a combination of the Hornets failing to keep star players on the team and very serious allegations made against Shinn
Whoa.
ultimately drove the fan base
Whoa.
away until they were dead last in
Kidnapping?
attendance in their final season. Fans would protest for Shinn to reconsider his decision, but it never happened. The Hornets were no longer in Charlotte. A city and state that loves basketball had just been abandoned by its professional team. But not all hope would be lost. There's a reason why the New Orleans Hornets have their own history separate from Charlotte. A few years after losing their team, Charlotte would get another chance. The city of Charlotte once again had an NBA team to root for. Sure, it was a different mascot name, and the team would have to start completely from scratch again, but it didn't matter. They were back. This new Charlotte team was going to be far better than the New Orleans Hornets ever would be. Of course, it would not be easy. Similar to when the Hornets were first created, the Charlotte Bobcats would struggle for the first 5 seasons, failing to win more than 35 games. They eventually made the playoffs in 2010, but they would get swept by the Orlando Magic in the first round. Things were clearly not working for the Bobcats. They had a long way to go in order to be competing for a championship. Something needed to be done, and eventually, they did do something. In February of 2010, Michael Jordan would become the majority owner of the Charlotte Bobcats. One of the NBA's most iconic figures was running the team. Jordan's talents on the court were undeniable, and he was ready to prove that he could run an NBA team and show how great of a basketball mind he really is. He was going to rebuild the Bobcats into the team they were always meant to be, a team with multiple championships and stars of the league, a team that would make fans of Charlotte proud, and one that fans of other teams would be envious of. Of course, none of that happened. You know, it's kind of funny. For someone who's considered by many to be the greatest NBA player ever, he's also in consideration for quite possibly the worst NBA owner ever. Jordan's time as owner of the Hornets has set the team back tremendously, and he's cost them many chances of them ever being a good team. A lot of it can be pointed at the draft picks. In 2011, the Hornets would draft Kemba Walker, which was easily the best pick they made with Jordan as owner. I mean, sure, they could have picked Jimmy Butler in that draft, but it was overall a great pick that helped the team land a good player. That would be one of the only good picks they would make. In 2012, the Bobcats would draft Michael Kidd-Gilchrist with the second pick, who averaged 8.4 points a game throughout his career. Who did they pass up on in the draft? How about Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal, and Draymond Green? In 2013, Charlotte would draft Cody Zeller, who is an average level center for the team. Who did they pass up on drafting? Try Steven Adams, Rudy Gobert, and Giannis. The same thing happened in 2015 when they drafted Frank Kaminsky with the 9th overall pick. Who did they pass up on? Devin Booker. When your team keeps selecting mediocre players and draft busts for over 10 years, it starts to make sense why they aren't good. Just compare the players they drafted to some of the names that they passed up on. There's a good chance that drafting just one of these players would have made them a good team. This doesn't even include drafting Adam Morrison in 2006, one of the biggest draft busts of all time. Obviously, I'm not expecting Charlotte to make the correct pick every single time. Even the best teams in the league make awful picks in the draft. But to not choose any of these players while continuing to draft mediocrity is unacceptable. Jordan's faults were not just in his inability to draft. MJ would often hire coaches that wouldn't last more than a few seasons with the team, and there are too many times in which he massively overpaid players. All of these decisions held back the team from ever building into a contender.
120 mil, bro. 4 years, 120 mil.
One of his only good decisions as owner was getting Charlotte to change its name back to the Hornets in 2014. I know it's definitely a little unfair to blame Jordan for every single decision that was made. It's not like he can control how good the players and coaches will turn out to be. He's just the owner. But that's the thing. He's the owner. At the end of the day, he's running the team. It's his responsibility to build Charlotte into a winning team, and he failed.
Damn,
what you are looking at are the win-loss records for each year.
44, 38, 34, 759. Oh my gosh, bro. 23, 42. This is good, I guess. Oh my gosh, bro. This is good.
Year that Jordan owned the team.
Bro.
For the 13 years that MJ was the majority owner of the Charlotte Hornets, the team only had a winning record 4 times, and only 3 of those winning records led to a playoff appearance. Since getting the team back in 2004, Charlotte has not won a single playoff series. And yes, in 2012, the team finished with only 7 wins, which is the worst season record in the NBA's history. Jordan would eventually sell his majority ownership of the team in 2023, leaving a legacy as one of the worst owners the NBA has ever seen. The Hornets are currently at a low point. The team only won 19 games in the 2025 season, and they haven't made the playoffs in nearly a decade. Maybe things can turn around for them, but it won't be easy. They have a long way to go before they can ever be considered good again. Do you want to know the worst part about all of this? Fans of Charlotte can't even reminisce on the good times of being at the top of the league, because those good times were never there in the first place.
Man, bruh. It's gotta be depressing to be a Hornets fan, bro. But anyways, if you guys are new here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Hee!